am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
God is dead! I know it feels like to be God.
85% of the teenagers in high school have been exposed to hardcore Satanism.
Jesus wants me to live an abundant human life.
The blackest eyes.
I'm the king, man.
Fallen angels directly out of the bottomless pit. The demons of death and hell out of the bottomless pit. Images of witchcraft, black magic, torture, rebellion, and fallen angels. Satan's pretty cool.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Ritual, the podcast, your guide to pop culture and the occult. I'm your host, Lucas Sloppy, and with me today is Pittsburgh artist and DJ Stephanie Tsong. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You're here.
I am here.
We're doing
Live
it.
in the flesh.
Yeah. So, artist and DJ at Jellyfish.
Yes.
Tell people about this Jellyfish.
Jellyfish is a queer party that takes place monthly at P-Town, a gay dive bar on Baum Boulevard in, I don't even know, is that Oakland? Oakland, Shadyside? Bloomfield?
Yeah, something like that. It is kind of an in-between, a liminal space, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, everything about the party feels like a liminal space. Like, I feel like we're all on borrowed time there.
Yeah.
I mean, even the lighting is like bisexual lighting, kind of liminal. You know, it's in the the gray
Oh,
area.
yeah,
you know,
in between
it's like
gender,
all of
in
it.
between
Yes,
sexuality.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is. Did you say how often it is?
Monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah, I mean, we try to do it monthly. With COVID, it's obviously much more difficult. We do it outside in the summertime. In the winter, it's kind of, we're trying to figure out exactly what to do with that.
And what sort of music do you play?
Mostly Italo disco, a lot, like house, deep house, a lot of like good post-punk stuff too, like things with like a good beat. Anything you can like really dance to and like kind of feel yourself under the moonlight too.
Well, this being, an occult podcast, what's your sort of take on, dancing as ritual and maybe the magical connotations of something like Jellyfish, especially with the addition of subversive, sexuality and gender,
totally
breaking being at the forefront.
It feels, every time I'm there in whatever our makeshift DJ booth is, it always feels like we're pounding these drums and like summoning a deity or something, and a lot of it does feel very ritualistic, and everyone gathers and kind of like pulsates to the same rhythm, and it feels like not quite sacrificial, but like an offering, like a summoning, an offering, and I'm not sure what we're bringing up, but I'm sure it's going to wreak a lot of fucking havoc in the world, and I'm here for it.
But not on the attendees.
Right.
On the norms.
We're just opening the Pandora's box for everyone else.
Yeah, something to bring, attack the status quo, if you will.
And that's always, that's always the goal, right?
Yeah.
Wishing well? I wish that I could sing and dance.
If you try hard at what you do, all your wishes can come true. Sing and dance, sing and dance.
So before the show today, you came to me with the idea of talking about Chinese folklore and magic. Mm-hmm. And I know so little about that. And I'm excited to learn more. So, tell us and tell the listeners why you want to talk about that. What sparked this last minute change of plans to the show.
So I recently went back home to visit my parents, and for the first time in a couple years, and it was great to see them, but in the process, they also gave me a lot of relics and jewelry and artifacts from like my grandparents' emigration to the U.S.
Yeah, you had said earlier that
Yeah.
your parents came from Taiwan, and then your grandparents had fled China to Taiwan before that. And when was that? When was the
So that was during the Cultural Revolution, and then like my parents.
the 50s?
Yeah.
Am I getting my history right?
Yeah.
Not a history podcast, folks. Okay,
me
so
neither.
like, don't come at us with your dates and
Yeah.
whatnot. Okay?
I only know art history.
Yeah, we talk about movies and
Right.
and woo woo shit. Okay.
Exactly. I only know what like they pass on.
Yes.
You know what my grandmother's passed on to my mother and vice. And so.
But yeah,
on.
so you got these different items.
Yeah. And some of them felt very, really sacred and really powerful. Like there were things with like precious gemstones in them, like tiger's eye and like, amethyst and rose quartz and, sapphire, all these things. And they're all handmade in the Jade Alley essentially. And, it's a market in Taipei that sells, handmade and a lot of like jade and like semi-precious jewels and stuff like that. But in receiving them, it feels like my spirit guides are kind of embodied in these relics, and they're here to guide me and help me figure out my way in life.
And then, going further with that, what sort of, like, as far as the folklore and the folk magic, what comes to mind? You told me before the show that you were kind of raised hearing these stories, and maybe realized later that they were unique to your experience.
What's so interesting about a lot of Chinese and Taiwanese folklore is that it really embraces ghosts and spirits, and like the thing that tends to be the thing that you grieve in the story is the loss of time, so like that's the really frightening part. All of a sudden you go into a cottage and you leave it and all of your friends and family have died, and you're like 700 years have passed by. That's always that's oftentimes the takeaway and the really horrifying part of that. Like some witchy beautiful ghost lures you into a space, and then all of a sudden you leave and everyone you love is dead.
Where do you think that comes from? I know, Chinese civilization is like one of the oldest, like
it's
one
up there. It's up there.
Yeah, it's
for
always
sure.
Trying to trace those things is really difficult.
Right.
It is. It's
not a history podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, to just culturally how people handle. That's really what this show a lot of the times is about. It's interesting, especially to see through pop culture and just culture in general, like how different societies express the supernatural, the occult, like, because it does point back to something within that society. It comes from somewhere. So I'm like, this fear of time. Because what are ghosts in, like, I'm trying to think of a typical American. I mean, typical American, they're mostly imported. I went to Hansel and Gretel and I was like, that's a German story. But even that, something like Hansel and Gretel, it's like they go into the cottage and it's a little more like, there's like a brutality to it, a little less nuanced. The fear lies in like being cooked, being
eaten,
killed,
cannibalism.
But there is,
of course, it's German.
But interestingly, there is a fear. The witch in those stories is often a hag, an old woman. So there is this aspect of time, but maybe more how it applies to like individuals. I don't know. I'm extrapolating here, but that's some of my favorite thing to do on the show is like really armchair.
Sure. I mean, I think
analyze.
what they do have in common is like oftentimes like being lured into something like a cabin in the woods, some kind of isolated, house or home or something.
Yeah.
And then they're being preyed upon in different ways. And what really terrifies, I think, people from more, traditionally Eastern mindsets is the loss of time versus the loss of life, you know? So it's just a different fear of the outcome, you know?
Yeah.
And
there's also a lot more like ancestor worship
exactly.
in the East than there is in the West, to use kind of whatever terms. Sometimes the East or West, it's like...
Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
But yeah,
what's
maybe
East?
that's where it comes from, because I feel like, especially in America, it's like our relationship with death is just... We don't really have any celebrations that, like, at least, especially in America. You have the Day of the Dead, you know, in Mexico, that is the closest we can relate to, like, oh, wow, a celebration that, like... I mean, we have Halloween, but it's not...
that seems like a really sick celebration, honestly. Day of the Dead.
Does.
Yeah.
It does, because it is you're hanging with
way
your
cool.
dead relatives and you're honoring them.
We have a similar thing, but not as fun. If you ask me. I'm like, I think it's a little bit less festive. Let's just put it that way. It's called Tomb Sweeping Day.
Okay.
I wish I could tell you the exact day. I think it's in the fall, and it tends to be like, you know, when you go visit your ancestors' graves and you like sweep everything out, like there's usually like overgrowth and whatever, you cut that back and you leave offerings of fruit and money and like little things for them, and you burn incense and you kind of like say a little prayer or message to them.
But it's a little more pensive, a little more like
it's
serene
more,
than like Day of the Dead. There's not as much like
it's more
parade
contemplative, right?
Okay.
I mean, you could do it that way, and I fully endorse that.
Yeah.
For the young Taiwanese people out there.
Well, in America, we have a celebration that almost completely gets rid of any of the ancestor worship, any of the like honoring of the dead, and has now just become total like
commercialism.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I mean,
it's fun, whatever.
It is fun, yeah. But I like to try to remember, even, I mean, All Hallows Eve and before, like, Samhain, you know, came from a similar thing. Yeah. You know, in that time of year, you got the veil is thin, and death and life are kind of like intermingling, and I think there is a trend now. I mean, we got tons of like trendy witches and people that are just kind of like doing it for the looks, but I do think there is a rise in like people actually trying to
like paying attention to this stuff.
Yeah, and just pagan practices, embracing them.
Yeah.
The powers of darkness hover and swoop in the night, descending like death on helpless, innocent victims.
Where's my sister?
A way must be found to stop the evil spread. But can this be done? Or is it already too late? No one dares predict what the final outcome will be, as the air is filled with the fumes of deadly evil. Don't go alone at night, lest you should encounter the devil.
Den of Geek, I found an article titled "A Beginner's Guide to Chinese Black Magic Movies." So, you know, kind of in line with what we were talking about with, you know, kind of the Eastern take on the supernatural and ghosts and similar things. We're gonna. I pulled 5 from here because it's a kind of a big list. So we're just gonna go through here. I'm gonna be reading the from my Letterboxd account. Are you familiar with Letterboxd? Mm-hmm. The, like, you know, social media for movies? Mm-hmm. Please find me on there. I'm Rufus Galopi if you guys want to see what I'm watching.
I don't have anything on there yet.
But yeah, we're just going to read through 5 movies here and I guess just see how we feel. I feel like maybe we haven't seen any of these, but... So the first movie is 1975's Black Magic. And it says here... Those who did not believe in the voodoo curse never lived to tell. A magician makes money by charging people to cast love spells on the objects of their affection. Complications arise when he decides that he wants a customer's bride for himself. Now, what do you think of that, Stephanie?
I mean, that sounds incredible. That sounds pretty great. The poster.
I mean, yeah. Describe the poster for the...
This, like, one-eyed skull, flaming skull, with, like, all these characters drawn or, photographed around it. There's a guy, like, hailing Mary, but it's obviously not Mary because he's in flames. They're, like, lovers making love. Someone who looks like she's having an orgasm. A bandaged guy with I don't even know. There's all kinds of crazy shit on here.
Yes.
It looks great.
It does look great. Movie 2 is 1981's The Devil.
Not to be mistaken with The Devils.
This is a really short write-up. Here's the tagline: crawling horror from the depths of hell. A hideously ugly witch casts spells on her victims, which turn their insides into snakes and worms.
How did they make a whole movie out of this?
I don't know, but...
That seems like a very...
It probably set up a bit like 1981. I mean, this is like post-Halloween.
Sure.
This is a year after Friday the 13th came out, so it kind of almost sounds like a slasher, at least in its like... You get to see all the different ways she kills them, but it's also like all she does is turn their insides into snakes and worms.
Honestly, that doesn't sound like that bad of a way to go. I mean, I don't know.
Doesn't. They're already kind of like slippy and slidey.
Yeah, they're already inside you. What's the worst thing that they can do? Eat your other innards?
We also have here 1983's Devil Fetus. After a couple purchases an antique vase at a market, the woman is possessed and killed by a demonic creature. 12 years later, the demon returns to possess the woman's nephew and wreak more havoc.
So what's the devil fetus part then?
Who's
the fetus?
Yeah, who is the fetus? 12 years later, the demon returns to possess the woman's nephew and wreak more havoc. Maybe we were talking earlier. Maybe it's like
just a
bad translation.
I don't know, but like it sounds like Chinese Rosemary's Baby.
Sounds like devil nephew.
Yeah.
Or demon.
Or maybe he impregnates the nephew. I don't know.
Maybe that'd be kind of cool. Like Rosemary's Baby meets Junior.
Yeah.
Meets pregnant male. Whoa.
Yeah.
If it's not that, please, listeners, do not steal that idea because me and Stephanie are gonna make.
I'm gonna market this.
Junior 2
meets Rosemary's
Devil
Baby.
Fetus. Devil Fetus. Then we have 1983, same year, Seeding of a Ghost. A Hong Kong taxi driver suffers after being cursed by a sorcerer he accidentally hit with his cab. After the driver's wife is raped and killed by teenage hooligans, he pleads with the sorcerer to lift the hex and restore his wife to the land of the living. Otherworldly zombie chaos ensues.
I like that part.
I do like that.
I was not expecting that at the end. That was a sudden turn.
Yeah, I like any horror movie that is grounded in, like, the horror almost stems from, like, a real horror. Like, something that actually
traumatizing.
Yeah, something traumatizing, and then the supernatural sort of stems out of this. This idea of, please bring back my dead wife. Okay, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to bring back...
Right.
And that means everybody else is going to be brought back, too. We got a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, she's going to be a shell of a human. Yeah, I mean, I think what's powerful about that is that it feels like the power of trauma transcending the physical realm summoning the spirit realm into doing something like completely batshit crazy.
Yeah, it's like the externalization of trauma.
Yeah.
And this poster here is just like some emaciated corpse with like...
I like the...
It's like a female mummy.
Creepy. I'm here for that.
All of these posters.
That sounds very cool.
Really good.
I would watch any of these, honestly.
And then we have our final of the 5 that I picked. This one, also 1983, must have been a really good year for these types of movies. This one's called The Black Magic with Buddha.
That sounds more like what I was raised with.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Or it also sounds like a like Christian batshittery, like somebody, you know, how they every other religion is black magic.
Right.
Buddhism is evil.
Black magic with Buddha for dummies.
Yeah. The story is about 2 explorers who invade a temple in the dark of a jungle. They find a mummy, remove its brain, and return to the mainland, as you do.
Sure.
The blood and fluid from the brain are used in black magic rituals that result in a series of bloody murders throughout the city, committed by the brain.
I love that.
Actually sounds awesome.
That sounds incredible.
Where's the... Oh, so it's like they must have taken it from a Buddha statue.
From a mummified.
But
like, wouldn't it be like a desiccated, like, I don't know, like the size of like a small fist or something?
Didn't they remove the brains?
Right. I mean, if it's mummified, is
it Buddha's mummy?
Who's the mummy? Who's the body?
Who's the Buddha? With Buddha? I would see this.
I would definitely see that. That sounds incredible. I love anything where atrocities are committed by more or less inanimate objects.
Well, Stephanie, thank you for being on the show.
Of course.
And teaching me...
We're both learning.
How little you know.
We're both learning.
Yes, we're both learning.
And that's okay.
Anything you want to promote? Any way that the listeners can follow you, or upcoming events you want them to go to?
Oh God, I'm terrible at that stuff.
Well, what's your socials?
My socials are, I'm mostly on Instagram these days, but my handle is at formosa.exe, FORMOSA.exe. And you can also check me and Jellyfish out on SoundCloud.
You also have a jellyfish. There is a jellyfish handle, Insta as well.
It's just Jellyfish PGH, and we're that on SoundCloud as well. So you can find us all over that.
You upload the events to SoundCloud,
not every event. We do like specific recorded ones, or we'll
that's cool. I didn't know that, but you've listened to the show, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, then you know that you will now join me, if you please, in directing the fakers, as we call them, to go fake themselves.
Yes.
Okay, I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Go fake yourselves.